What is going on, guys? Nathan here with a Fallout 4 gameplay commentary. And this commentary's inspiration originally derived from Fallout 4, but I would like to sort of extrapolate it to real life because I feel like this question that I would like to ask does pertain to real life in the future, beyond my lifetime. But it has some relevance down the road. Now, in the Fallout universe, there is the Institute, and the Institute is a faction of the Fallout universe that has created these beings called synths, and they are essentially synthetic humans. They are machines that have not adapted, but they have been created solely for the purpose to look like humans, act like humans, and I wouldn't say think like humans because they're not quite there yet in the Fallout universe anyway. But in the trailer for Fallout, I think it was in the trailer, a question was asked in dialogue of whether you would be willing to die if that somebody was a synth. And that got me thinking, and this sort of whole Institute part of the main campaign got me thinking of, can these synths, these machines, really be alive? Can they be considered alive on the level of humans? So when I was sort of just brainstorming, or rather organizing my thoughts for this whole commentary, I was just brainstorming, a lot more questions were posed than were answered. And I feel that this commentary is going to sort of reflect that, because a lot of this is going to be just sort of spitballing on interesting, intriguing notions that I've thought of. So I'll sort of give it a go here. So the question here is, can machines be alive? And I would say that you have to look at the complexity of the machine or device that you're making. And to reflect that, or to sort of soft prove that, what we have is many simple animals and plants that are already considered to be alive, such as a simple weed in the ground or a fly buzzing around your head. These beings are considered to be alive. But I would propose that humans are considered more alive because we are more intelligent and can do more things. So what separates us from these simple beings is the complexity of our brains. Our brains are so much more substantially complex than a simple fruit fly. And I actually did some quick Googling on this. And our brain is comprised of approximately 100 billion neurons, among other cells, such as, I think they're like glial cells that protect the neurons. And in comparison to a fruit fly who has approximately 100,000 neurons, that is a factor of 1 million neurons. And that's neurons alone. That is not considering the amount of connections that the neurons make, which is on a far greater multitude, because the neuron connections are actually what matter in the brain. So, here's a question. What if we made a synthetic brain? What if we devoted many people and a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources in the far future where the technology was there, and we created a device that was as complicated as our own brain? What if we made a synthetic brain that performed most, if not all, of the functions of the human brain? And I would say that it's not in the realm of impossibility given enough time and technology. Because our brain is simply a complex machine of individual cells. Now, albeit it is the most complicated object in the known universe, but given enough time and technology, I think that we can replicate it with synthetic materials or non-biological materials, such as cells and whatnot. Instead, we'd be using things that make up computers, essentially, which is transistor gates and microchips, things like that. So, what if this synthetic brain performed most or all of the functions of a normal human brain? It has cognitive processing, decision-making, it can process emotions, and it can think about itself. This device would be sentient if it was as complicated as our own brain. So, if this device is sentient, and we can't really prove that, by the way, let me actually argue against myself for a second, because we're stopped by, I believe it's called like the other mind dilemma, where as observers we cannot actually tell 100% certainty that this device, this synthetic brain, is actually thinking or having thoughts or it has emotions, because we have our own minds. We cannot step into the mind of this other thing and confirm, yes, this thing just had a thought. Like, I recognize this as a thought because we have our own brain to think for us. So, if this device is so complicated that it performs all of the functions of the human brain, and it can think about itself, so it's sentient, and this device can make its own decisions, can process emotion and whatnot, does it not then have free will? And that could lead into a much larger discussion than I really have time for. You could try to hash out the definition of free will, but for my own intents and purposes, I'll just be using a simple definition of free will in that this thing can do whatever it wants. So if this device, we'll just keep on assuming here, assuming this device is sentient, it has free will, and performs most, if not all, of the functions that a human is capable of, should it not then be considered to be alive? Because, again, we have simple organisms such as a weed in the ground or a fly in the air. These are already considered alive. How can we not consider this machine to be alive if we consider those simple organisms to be alive? And I will say that there are different, again, like I said in the beginning, there are different levels of being alive. Humans who are much more intelligent are obviously more alive than a weed in the ground, because our intelligence is on such a greater magnitude that it is almost indisputable, I would say. But let's continue our assumptions here. So let's assume that this synthetic brain is considered alive. Now, if this device is considered alive, would you treat it the same way as you would a normal human? If this synthetic brain was put into a perfectly replicated synthetic human body, which is probably far easier than actually making the synthetic brain itself, then I think almost everybody would treat it the same, because you would not know that it is a synthetic being. Because for all intents and purposes, it is a human in all but origin in terms of where it came from. So let's take that a step further. If you are a soldier willing to die to protect your country, like so many people are in our armed forces, would you also die to protect your country, which contains these synthetic beings? Interesting question, because if these machines are human in all but origin, or even definition, if they perform all of the behaviors of a human except that they're not human, then would you value it on the same level as a human? So when you consider the level of complexity of these two objects, the human brain and the synthetic brain, what really is the difference between them? Because both are machines at the same level of complexity. It's just that our brain is made of biological materials, aka cells, neurons, and the synthetic brain is made of things like transistor gates and microchips and whatever else is made up of computers. I don't know. I'm not a hardware expert or have a degree in any of that. But I don't know. That's just some fun spitballing to kind of do in my free time. I would love to know what you guys think, so feel free to comment with your thoughts. It's a hard question to answer or even just think about in the context of a simple YouTube comment, but I think you can try to give it a go. And I might include a poll of the day to gauge how much or what other people think in terms of just a simple pie graph, for example. So that is my commentary for today, guys. Thank you all for watching, and yeah, have a good day.
Still in one piece.
Hey,
Hmm?